Greetings to everyone. Today a very interesting story awaits you. I will not delay you long, but I will only ask for your likes for this video for my efforts. The story begins near a palace. Some man says that 3 months have already passed, and no news has been heard from him. Another man asks his brother how this can be. The man tells him to keep eating. Is he even able to do anything other than keep eating? The other man asks what he is doing. You can't do that. It's not cultural to take corn cobs from another person's hands. Without food you can't. There will be strength and energy. If you don't have dinner just once, then a person will become hungry and mad. The teacher and the other elders went to the Sky Island, and at the Tiangong conference, they need to show everything in the best way, show their clan from the best side, in order to maintain its ranking next month, although he understands how serious it all is. The other man replies, even if the teacher and elders come back, he doesn't think they will keep their clan's ranking. For more than 10 years they have seen the rise of many schools and streams, and their people lead a very fragmented existence. Decline is only a matter of time. The first man was very angry because their Yun San clan used to be a very prominent first-class clan, but they were just started to be persecuted by the evil rock. Perhaps because of the total bad luck of the past years, their rising generation will be forever cut off from the path to a wonderful future. One of the brothers decided to propose his idea. The other brother agreed to listen to it. He pointed to the exit with his hand, but it is still unclear what exactly he had an idea for. The brother asked again if he wanted to invite the same man. The first brother agreed and said that was what he meant because he was actually very good. A certain man says to Brother Chien, "Today the wind is finished, the food is also very delicious. If the teacher asks, it will be their secret that no one will know." The bull grunted joyfully, and the man in turn said that this is true brotherly loyalty. Someone tells him to use it. One of the brothers tells the teacher that he is there and that the teacher should go there. He tells Brother Chun that there is an excited cat near the mountain, and adds how cute she is. The cat, in turn, was lying and stretching on the ground. This poor thing is completely unteachable. If she doesn't come to her senses within a few days, she will have to be spayed, which is definitely not like a mosquito bite. Someone tells the teacher that the weather is very wonderful today and they invited him to go out and bask in the sun. The teacher tells one of the brothers that he once again left Datsian to graze on the mountain, and went down to play down the mountain himself. He replies that no, it is not like that at all, and for the teacher to ask Brother Chong, all this time they have been together, if he allows himself to tell a lie to the teacher, then let him be struck by lightning in this place at the same time. He thought to himself that sometimes he thought the teacher was clairvoyant, otherwise how could he have guessed? The teacher shouted loudly that he was a leper and struck him with lightning. The bull and the cat who were near the mountain did not understand what was happening. The man shouted loudly to the teacher what he was doing. The teacher asks if he should be struck by lightning for his untruth. He was forced to create justice. The man says that the teacher should not complicate himself with the punishing thunder, that he should take a better look, that there are now big holes everywhere in the Tanyan cave. It is time to rename this place to the Cave of the All-Seeing Eye. The teacher says that the boy can even afford to make fun of him, and the boy replies that he does indeed do all his duties every day with love and respect for his teacher. Moving forward, the teacher asked how many years had passed since then. As he took him to himself, the boy replied that 19 years had passed. The teacher says that only 19 years have passed, but it seemed to him that at least 100 years have passed. The boy asked how old his own sons were when they began to suffer from dementia. 2 men came to the cave. They introduced themselves. The first was Wu Laozi's disciple and the other was Quaner Street's disciple. They came to visit the great righteous Yuching. The teacher invited them to enter the cave. They fell on their knees before the teacher. They began to say that something very serious had happened. The teacher and the elders had gone to the Sky Island in search of luck. They were worried that it did not bode well. In the Tiangong conference, the question of their clan's survival is raised. Only a few in their clan are still capable of something. The elder brothers may not worry about their luck to regain their positions of the first, but without the seal of the clan head, they cannot participate in the Tiangong conference and will immediately expelled. In the last few days, the conversations within the clan have not stopped. Everyone understands that there is no worthy candidate among them for the role of clan head, so they want to risk asking the teacher with a request. They understand that the teacher has been living alone for many years, he is not interested in what is happening in the world. But they found themselves in a truly hopeless situation, not expecting it at all. The teacher asked if they wanted him to become the head of the clan temporarily. They replied that it was only for a while. Once the Telman conference was over, they would not bother the great righteous man and interfere with his practices. The teacher told them to send that boy away. The boy did not understand what the teacher said and shouted loudly. The two men replied that although this young man was a direct disciple of the great righteous man, he looked only 18 or 19 years old. The boy thought to himself that this strange streak wanted to mock him again. The teacher says that in his time he made a blood oath, he cannot descend from this mountain, and this boy is their ancestor, regardless of his age, he is completely trustworthy. The boy thinks to himself, is it even worth it for him to be a grandfather at such a young age? Although there is nothing wrong with such seniority, the two men began to worry about what would come of it. The teacher started to get angry and say if they don't like the candidate that the old man recommended, and the boy tells the teacher that he must have been a little hasty with his decision. Why don't he think again a little better? The boy says to himself that he is happy his safety, such dirt is thrown at him. The old man knows how to settle accounts. The teacher mentally says that he does not vouch for himself. The teacher asked the boy what he said. The boy quickly began to run out of the cave and say how he could forget to feed Brother Jew, and the two men began to say that since the great righteous person had recommended the young ancestor, then the matter was settled, but the teacher did not take his word for it. He became very angry at the boy, because he started to run away. A large cloud of dust rose right at the exit of the cave. The boy mentally says that he was very lucky, he managed to bounce back. But lightning struck one of the men, he began to speak so that the great righteous man would have pity on him. The next day came. One man says that he is their new head and the only direct disciple of the great righteous Yuching. They can all call him either head or ancestor. Everyone began to discuss whether their clan would really be revived, because this boy is just a loser. Why didn't the great righteous come down from the mountain? If they send the great righteous, they will definitely keep the first place, not to mention the top three. Why the middle and senior brother behave as if nothing happened? The boy sits on the throne and says to himself that he hears all their conversations and all their thoughts. One of the men said that there was enough talking about whether they doubted the decision of the great righteous man. Everyone quickly fell silent. Everyone began to bow to the head ancestor, and he, in turn, said that there was no need for formalities, the official ceremony was still waiting for them, and for now, everyone should quickly go to work. Everyone agreed and went to work. The boy, with a heavy heart, exhaled. One of the men said that he wanted to remind the head of the clan of something, and the boy asked them to call him an ancestor. Before the Tiangong conference, colleagues from other clans will come to exchange experiences, so he needs to take the leadership into his own hands for this time. The other man told him not to talk and wake up a master, and then everything would be fine. Cat and Bull began to say something to the new head of the clan. The head of the clan tells Brother Chien if he wants to say that now he is the boss here and such an honorable gentleman should not choke on such grass. He adds that he should find a good girl for him in the clan, because now women can improve his appetite. Brother Chong disagreed with him, but the head of the clan says that it is really a mystery to him. They are three different species, human, bull and cat, they are together every day, can't their species interbreed? The head of the clan suddenly became very bored. He says that since he came out of the Tanyan cave, more than half a month has passed, and apart from the daily acquaintance with the successors of the clan, in addition to the constant visits with greetings from the ambassadors of other clans, it seems that nothing changed, and at the same time, everything changed at once. Suddenly someone called the ancestor. The man came running and said that it was time to meet the guests. The head of the clan agreed with this man and said that he was leaving. He raised his hands to the mountain and said that they are leaving again, these must be the last guests. The head of the clan went through the arch to the palace to meet the guests. The man told the ancestor chief that Lu Zhushi from the Lingxiao clan would be coming. The clan chief didn't understand what Lingxiao clan was, he didn't remember him. He told Quainier that he would need to make a list of names for him in his spare time, because he really can't remember what clan it is. Today, the man will repeat all the clans for the ancestor head again, so he asked the head to remember all of them this time. The man thought if the great righteous Yuqing was really right, this scoundrel still could not remember any clan. The Lingxiao clan ranks first in the earth rank. It is said that this year they may enter the heaven rank. They are strong in magic and spells. The clan originates from the Lu clan. Because of this, all people who passed the certification and joined the clan take the surname Lu. Today the guest of the clan head Lu Zhushi, the beloved disciple of the head of the Lu clan, his younger sister Lui Pai. A young girl who is personally trained by the master, will definitely take the place of the head of the Lu clan in the future. The clan head says that Quainier deserves the title of the encyclopedia of the Yunxian clan. He knows absolutely everything. Now the head knows the whole situation and understands who he is waiting for. He said to bring the guest to him. Quainier began to whisper to the head of the clan, but he quickly interrupted him and said that he knows everything. He will just pretend to be a master. There is nothing complicated in this. The man says that the ancestor was born very intelligent. He has been behaving flawlessly for the past 6 months. If today goes smoothly and calmly and no one finds out, then their clan will be able to rehabilitate themselves before the Tiangong conference. The clan head agreed with his words and said in his mind, which has nothing to do with the fact that he was born intelligent. The man coughed and began to invite the guest. He called the ambassador Zhu Sha and told him to go to the middle of the palace. A handsome man entered the palace. Something started to glow on the ground under his feet. Zhu Shi says that he has come with great respect from the Lingxiao clan to congratulate the appointment of the new head of the Yunxian clan. His servants followed him and brought a large gift. Zhu Shi said that this was a modest gift to the Lingxiao clan. He asked to accept this gift as a sign of their gratitude. The ancestor smiled sweetly. Zhu Shi began to think that there were rumors that the new head of the Yunxian clan was a personal disciple of the great righteous Yuqing. He was able to take the place of the head of the clan at such a young age. He seems to have some abilities. However, the Yunxian clan is now at the very end of the earthly rank and the great righteous Yuqing no longer came out of his cave. Besides, no one spoke up. Apparently nothing special would happen at the Tiangong conference. No, this boy does not look like that. Compared to other young men, it is immediately clear that he has a much deeper view, as if he has more than a dozen years on his account, as if he is an old man. Zhu Shi suddenly began to understand something. The ancestor began to think that this Zhu Shi was constantly looking at him. Did he begin to understand that the ancestor was only pretending to be a master? Did the expression on his face betray him? Zhu Shi began to think that the ancestor immediately understood who he was with his magic as soon as he entered. It must be that Zhu Shi was not careful. Since the clan head had given a warm welcome, Lu Zhushi had accomplished his mission, so he now bowed and left for his clan. The man standing next to the ancestor head said that Lu Zhushi would be escorted. Lu Zhushi left the palace. The ancestor asked Quainier how he looked from the outside. He replied that it was not bad enough. The ancestor asked the man what happened to him. Maybe he has a headache. He replied that he did not know what happened. After Lu Zhushi entered the palace, he felt dizzy. He must have been very tired from last time. The ancestor said that he takes care of him personally. The ancestor added that that's all. He went to the backyard to the brothers Daqiang and Zhu. They must be hungry. The man said goodbye to the ancestor head and suddenly his head stopped spinning, but he did not understand what it was connected with. Tai Palace is Fengtian City, created specifically for the meeting of all clans. After leaving the Yunxian clan, Lu Zhushi arrived at the Tai Palace Guild Hall of the Lingxiao clan. Lu Zhushi went inside and said that he had returned. His sister Lui Pan asked him if he had met the great righteous Yuching today. He said that he only met the new clan head. The great righteous Yuching most likely continues his loneliness. Several senior clan successors have retired together with the great righteous. At this point 19 years have passed and still no one has come down from there, as well as was ordered. An old man asked Lu Zhushi about the new clan head, who he is and what he represents. Another boy says that he heard that the head of the clan is only a few years older than him. Although he is a disciple of a great righteous man, may he receive the true knowledge of a great righteous man. But how did he become the master of that clan, where no one has been for tens and hundreds of years has been improving his abilities? He is worried that the Yunxian clan is really what they say it is. The elders and the clan head have suddenly changed and this strange young boy is really taking his rightful place. The sister asked her brother what he thought about this situation, which took place half a month ago. He replied that today he used magic when he came in. This magic can only be sensed and weakened by practitioners who have reached very high peaks, but the second elder and clan head managed it. He doesn't know if they didn't notice it or didn't show it on purpose, this, which everyone knows, besides. The new head smiled at him from beginning to end and did not say a word. In fact, he is a very interesting and mysterious boy. The sister said that choosing a clan head is not child's play. She thinks that the Yunxian clan is doing so for very reasonable reasons in supporting the great righteous disciple. Although the changes in the Yunxian clan do not greatly affect the overall picture, they should be careful to avoid other major upheavals. In any case, the Lingxiao clan in the Tiangong conference should retain the top spot of the earth rank. Only if they keep the top spot earth rank, they will be able to reach heaven rank. Which is what the teacher always hoped for. Their father laughed and said with joy that Ipai had really grown up. She would go far. Yunxian clan kitchen. The ancestor asked Xiaoqi if the fire was strong enough or if he should make it even bigger. Xiaoqi opened his robes and said that it is very hot, so there is enough fire, the heat is strong enough. The ancestor says that every time he sees Xiaoqi eating, he feels the happiest person. Xiaoqi replied that he did not expect such a thing from him, that he cooks so deliciously. His food is really much better than the chef from that time taverns. The ancestor says that when he lived in the mountains, he cooked for the teacher. At first the teacher was very unhappy with the cooked food, because his cooking was too simple, and then he went down the mountain to master some crafts. By the way, Kuan-Yer kept talking about the earth and sky clans. Every time he decided to talk about them, the ancestor was as if in a fog. The ancestor asked Xiaoqi to tell him about it in more and more detail. Xiaoqi began to talk with his mouth full of food. He said that the clans are divided into 3 levels: heavenly, earthly, and immeasurable. 100 years ago, cultivation wasn't as popular as it is now, but suddenly, in one fine moment, he doesn't know what exactly happened there, but everyone began to cultivate as if obsessed. Since then, in addition to some of the founding clans, from many new obscure clans appeared. As the clans grew like bamboo shoots after the rain, first-class problems also arose, and many other clans, under the slogans of improvement, began to secretly do very terrible things. When a lot of time passed, the imperial court realized that if you leave the situation unattended, trouble will happen sooner or later. Because of this, a rule was established all over the world, allowing only 3 levels of clans: earthly, heavenly, and immeasurable, and leaving a clan without a level, you can only for 10 years. The Tiangong Conference is the place to choose the Earth Rank clan. The 3 Earth Rank classes will participate in the competition for the Heaven Rank. The clan that will win the competition and get the Heaven Rank will be able to get a lot of resources that were not available in the Earth Rank. The successors of Xuanzi were actually a clan of the imperial court and were in charge of managing all the other clans. An ancestor says that these successors of Xuanzi must have been very strong warriors. Xiaoqi replied that he had heard that they were all light masters, but that was not certain. However, most of the spirit animal forests and miracle medicine stocks were controlled by the Xuanzang clan, and their 3rd-rank clans only licked the scraps off their plates. Ancestor says that judging from what he just said, if their Yunxian clan exits the Earth Rank, they only have 10 years to spare. if they don't re-enter the earth rank in 10 years, the clan will have to be disbanded. Soyotsi replies that he has not heard anything about clans that lost their earthly rank and turned back. Losing their earthly rank means losing the support of the court and its trust. In the past half-month, the ancestor saw that most of the disciples of their Yunxian clan were only improving to the level of earth demons, and this was only the very beginning skills. In the morning they were visited by Lu Zhushi, but first of all, behind the gate of 1,000 needles, the Luli clan, all of they are heavenly demons. In such a comparison it is already 100% loss. Sojatsi said that no matter what happens, it is much better that they at least have a clan head and they can participate in competitions. Besides, their Yunxian clan is always lucky, they always keep the last place in the list. The ancestor asked Sojatsi how he could not take it all seriously. If their Yunxian clan disappeared, he would have no home, and Sojatsi replied that when the time came, they would open a restaurant, and laughed out loud. The ancestor says that it is not possible. His teacher is already old and he is in Tanyang cave all day long. He cannot allow the teacher to become a cook, he must invent something that can be done. The ancestor asked if he could participate in the competition. I told Soyotsi that the Tanganyika conference is a test for the younger generation of participants. He is the head of the clan, he should, under no circumstances. The ancestor sighed sadly. The ancestor says that they cannot take medicine before the competition, and Soyotsi did not understand what medicine the ancestor was talking about, in what sense to take medicine. Ancestor says that once he practiced and had fun, he doesn't know if it will help or not, but he ate a few pieces of medicine. That time he felt in a very good shape, so he thought that maybe it is possible to try to repeat it with the participants of the competition at the Tanganyika conference. Soyotsi says that the ancestor is not talking about the medicine, but about the elixir. He does not break the laws, he definitely does not. The panacea is part of the improvement. The chapter begins in the alchemy room. To the Yunxian clan, from the very beginning it was the place where Chief Elder Wu Sanyu was in charge. Now Chief Elder Wu Sanyu had disappeared along with the others. The place was completely empty and useless for a while. There was an ancestor in this room. A girl came to him and gave him all the medicinal herbs he needed there. He smiled very sincerely and thanked her for bringing him the healing herbs so quickly. She asked the ancestor what medicine he wanted to make, if it could be poison, because she saw that there was a blue snake flower on the list, which, as everyone knows, is poison. He asked how the blue snake flower could be poisonous. Last time he made a small ball out of it, then he ate it, but there was no reaction and he felt normal. She did not understand how this could be. She says that its petals are really poisonous, and the ancestor questioned what she said and added that his teacher told him that this little thing is for strengthening health, although, once upon a time, he tasted a lot of such flowers and then he was sick for a long time, suffered from diarrhea, then he simply thought that his body, as it turned out, was weak. The girl began to say that only one blue snake flower can poison 10 spirit animals. He must have confused, maybe it was a blue honeysuckle flower. That is exactly it, a blue honeysuckle flower, very much helps and strengthens the spirit and nourishes the face. The ancestor was very scared and asked if she was joking. Maybe she wasn't. She adds that her teacher disappeared after she started practicing. She remembers the classification and healing properties of various herbs quite well. She can't be wrong 100%. The ancestor asked if it is true that if you mix several dozen medicinal herbs, some kind of reaction will occur and the medicinal properties of the herbs will interact with each other and counteract the high-precision substances, and a strengthening agent will appear from all this. She answered that it might be so. He added that first they would roast all the herbs on the fire and then see what would happen next. He asked Sissy to call him when the 3 sticks of benevolence burned out, and in the meantime he would get some sleep, because he was already very tired. She politely agreed and listened to his request. While the ancestor went to sleep, she began to think, looking at him, whether he could be trusted at all. It was very sunny outside. A huge oak tree was growing near the room, on which sat a squirrel with acorns in its paws. Sissy entered the room and began to wake up the ancestor. He continued to sleep sweetly and soundly. After some time he woke up. Sissy asked the ancestor if he was very tired, and he replied. The fact that he has been feeling a bit sleepy lately is probably because he has to receive visitors every day and sit in one place all day. Suddenly he hit the stove with all his might. Sissy was surprised and asked him if he wanted to put his bare hand in the oven. The ancestor did not understand what was so strange about it. He always does this because his hand is callous and strong, so he assured Sissy not to worry or be afraid. He took 2 balls out of the oven and said that everything was exactly the same as last time. He began to put one of the balls in his mouth. Suddenly Sissy started screaming and telling him not to eat those balls. But he still didn't listen to her. He tasted one ball and said it tasted exactly the same as before. He thought he remembered the recipe correctly. He assured Sissy not to worry, but she didn't understand how not to worry, because maybe he ate poison. The ancestor offered 1 ball to Sissy to try, but she refused. Suddenly, next to the alchemy room, an ancestor's assistant passed by. The ancestor called Quanzier and said he had something for Quanzier, but the aide warned the ancestor to follow his etiquette. The ancestor showed him 1 ball and said that he had just fried them and offered to taste them. The assistant took the ball in his hand and asked what kind of abomination it was. The assistant asked the ancestor what it was prepared for, why it smelled so bad. The assistant mentally said that it was not even finished, and then told the ancestor how it could even be like an elixir. The ancestor says that she does not look very attractive, but now he will fix everything in one move. The ancestor adds that the assistant should not be so cranky. He knows that stinky tofu smells very disgusting, but when you eat it, it is very tasty. He always eats it like this and everything even tastes very good. Now the ancestor gave the helper a very beautiful brown ball. The assistant says that it is really incredible. This is how to twist and create an elixir. The assistant mentally said that this scoundrel seems completely irresponsible. He is worried that the mind of the great righteous man has become clouded over the years. The ancestor at this time was very angry that his assistant did not want to taste the elixir. Some other man came and told Wu Quanzier that only he had turned away somewhere, and Quanzier was already eating something delicious. This man quickly took the ball from Quanzier and ate it. He said that this stuff had a very mild taste, but he couldn't tell what it was like, a bit like stinky tofu, and the assistant started yelling at his brother what he had done. His brother belched loudly. He says that the reason is that he just ate one of his dragées, which is why he looks at him so strangely. The assistant's knee suddenly started to hurt. The assistant started shouting at his brother that he had just eaten the ancestor's panacea. He began to tell his brother to spit out this abomination immediately, because he didn't know if it was poisonous or not. How could he eat everything in a row without understanding what he was eating, what to do if something went wrong? The brother began to tell the assistant what he was doing. He did not immediately eat his medicine, but climbed into his throat so that he almost vomited. The ancestor asked Xiaoqi if he felt suddenly enlightened, and the aide angrily shouted why the 2 of them were trying to anger him. His brother said it was impossible. Suddenly, my brother started to have a very bad stomach ache. The assistant started yelling at him that it was enough to eat everything he saw. His gluttony would kill him sooner or later. He offered him to go along to help his brother clean his bowels, and the brother started saying that he was dying of pain. The brother began to shout that they would not make it, because it would explode right now. He began to run very fast to the exit. The ancestor tells Quanzier not to worry, he will give Xiaoqi more medicine, and the aide says that he must have just eaten something wrong. The brother quickly ran out into the yard. The ancestor tells Quanzier that he still does not understand something in the Tiangong conference and asked the assistant to tell him more, and the assistant replied that the ancestor can figure it out himself in the best way. Suddenly the sky began to light up and the ancestor and Quanzier could not understand what had happened. There was a very loud explosion outside the gate. The assistant started running in that direction and shouting loudly that the toilet was on the other side. Together with the ancestor, they ran out of the gate and began to ask Xiaoqi if he was all right, what had happened. The assistant asked the brother how he was feeling and what about the toilet. He replied that everything was great. He approached the ancestor and said that his elixir was incredible, only that his whole body was blessed, everything inside was cleansed. He realized that if it were not for this elixir, he would not have been able to get rid of the evil spirit that was sitting in him, if all of the clan's successors could be honored to taste the same elixir. It would mean an unprecedented breakthrough. The ancestor replied that he didn't even think it had such outstanding power. The brother says that maybe this is a second chance for the clan, their Yunxian clan will be saved. He asked the ancestor if he still had such an elixir. The ancestor asked how much would need to be done. The brother replied that the more, the better. He would distribute everything to the descendants of the clan. The ancestor called Sitsi and told her to prepare more healing materials. The next day, the successors came to the palace. They did not understand why they were there. Yesterday the toilet somehow miraculously broke. Is it somehow related? It seems that the master wants to give them a gift. The assistant came out and said that the master had personally prepared an elixir for everyone, so he asked everyone to stand in line and take turns to take one elixir. They began to approach and take the elixir. Sitsi didn't understand what was wrong with this contraption. But she ate everything, because her older brother ate her yesterday and didn't die, so everything should be fine. The assistant told Sitsa to go quickly to the toilet, but she did not understand why and why. He began to tell her that this was an order and that she should not ask unnecessary questions. She quickly agreed and said that Sitsi had gone to the toilet. The assistant began to think that he hoped that everything would be fine, because that was all he could do. The other successors did not understand what kind of elixir it was, and it was an elixir from the master. He was still so young, could his abilities be trusted? But apparently everything is fine. It doesn't look very good. The taste is also quite strange. One of the successors started to have a very bad stomach ache. After some time, all the successors already had stomach aches. Everyone started running very quickly to the toilet. They started to fight for the toilet line. They shouted that they should not delay the queue and quickly leave the toilet. And suddenly there was a very strong explosion. It was visible throughout the entire territory of the palace. The successors who were standing in line were holding their stomachs. They were shocked by this explosion. Suddenly, each of them began to explode, the explosion flying out of their buttocks. The toilets were completely smashed, and all the successors lay paralyzed on the ground. The assistant stood silently and continued to watch all this. He mentally says that his Yunxian clan is completely stinky. It was the 15th year of the Ling dynasty. It was called the 15th reign, but no one in the world knew about the tragedy that happened there. The mentor did indeed send a letter to the ancestor and ordered him to come to Tanyan Cave, and he also insisted on a disguise, but how many people in the city could recognize him, an ordinary person? The cat brought some kind of postcard to the ancestor and the ancestor asked what it was. This letter was given to him by the mentor. It was written there that he would find him on the mountain, so that he would take care that no one recognized him. The ancestor disguised himself well. He told the cat that if anything, he would be in charge. And then he realized that he said what a little kitten could do. Even if something happened, it looked like he wouldn't mind a little rest. He sat on the window. He jumped into it. He crouched on the ground under the windows of his room. Then he flew towards the mountain. He didn't understand why the mentor called him. Maybe he just missed him. Then he remembered that when you get older, it's normal to want someone to be by your side. He flew over the palace guards very quickly. One of the guards asks if a butterfly, so big, just flew by. The ancestor stood on a tree and began to shout that he himself is a metric, and this is really a guard that protects the palace. It is just a passage yard with such a guard. Then he flew a little more and landed somewhere else. He landed in the woods and started running very fast. He says in his mind that there is not a single living soul here who can even recognize him. Suddenly he heard some rustling. He quickly hid behind a tree and began to listen to what was happening there. He noticed another person, someone who also did not want his identity to be revealed. He says in his mind that he has been very bored lately. He started running after that person. That person was some girl. She began to think that she had the feeling that someone was watching her. Ancestor mentally says that this person is so wary, it is more like that he wants to do something bad. He became very curious, but this person is moving exactly towards Tanyan Cave. Is it some acquaintance of his mentor? He set himself the goal of finding out who this person was. She stopped abruptly. She did not understand where Yen Takshu came from. She knelt before the big cat. The ancestor didn't understand why he was there. Shouldn't he be hiding somewhere around the Green Lake? How did he end up there? This is a very powerful being. He doesn't know if this mysterious stranger can deal with him. The girl began to run away. The ancestor began to think whether this stranger wanted to run away, that is, he was unable to defeat this powerful being. The powerful creature jumped over the girl's head, thereby stopping her. He swung his big paw at her. She thinks that using magic against spirits is a waste of energy. She began to say that she was only there to find one person. She didn't want to hurt him, but if he insisted on it, she had no choice. The ancestor was very surprised. It was a woman. The forefather stood and thought whether it was necessary to help at all, but they are not even acquaintances. He has no reason to help. Although on the other hand, she is a girl and it looks like she won't be able to handle Yen Takshu on her own. For a young hero like him to stay away in such a situation is not decent. The young hero even sounds good. Yen Tanki didn't even think of retreating. The girl was very scared. The ancestor says that each time this cry, something, allegedly, resembles the encouragement of one's beloved. The girl took out the sword, but her fear did not disappear anywhere. Yen Takshu kept attacking the girl, and she defended herself with her sword. Suddenly, he knocked the sword out of the girl's hands and threw her several meters back. His eyes were filled with very great aggression. The forefather shouted at him to get out of there. The ancestor says that today is a really interesting evening. The girl thinks what to do next. She does not understand who could have thought that she would die like this. The creature continued to attack the girl again and again. Suddenly, something very incomprehensible happened. A creature that had one head suddenly had two of them. A foreman ran up to the girl and took her in his arms and began to run away with her. She looked at him with a smile. They continued to run for cover. They ran up to the tree and stopped. She thanked him and began to say in her mind that he had been following her then. Peradok asked the girl if she was not injured. She showed him her leg and said that she only injured her. He started to go somewhere and told her to wait for him for a few minutes and not go anywhere. She started to say that Yen Takshu's power was equal to that of cultivators who had passed the fifth heaven border. She told the ancestor to get out of there as soon as possible. They don't even owe each other anything, they don't even know each other, but she begs him, so that he does not go there. He told her that nothing terrible would happen to him, and he himself said in his mind that in what sense is the fifth heavenly border? What does it mean at all? Some levels of disunity, and what he has then, at least should be the sixth. He approached the spiritual being and it began to attack him. The ancestor asked him what he was doing here. He should be at the Green Lake. Why did he come here? But the creature began to attack him again. Suddenly the creature sat down calmly in front of him. Petrick asked him if he wanted him to take him back to the Green Lake or if he would go himself. The creature gave the ancestor a hard exchange and the ancestor began to say that his drool was flowing right onto him. After the spiritual being hugged him, she turned around and started walking happily towards the Green Lake. The girl saw this whole situation and did not understand why Yen Takshu was so kind to this person. she did not understand if this boy was some kind of saint. She didn't understand how she could ask for the Lingxiao clan to enter the Heaven's Gate. The ancestor approached the girl and asked if she was all right. He said he would look at her leg. She started shouting loudly that who would have thought that he would be such a lecher. She began to wonder if he was just a young boy who had planned such indecent things from the very beginning. Since the ancestor can read the thoughts of others, he asked who the lecher was. She asked the ancestor if he wanted to pretend to be a fool, and he replied that he really didn't understand what she was talking about, he just wanted to make sure her leg was okay. He took her leg and told her to sit quietly, because there was a lot of blood, but only the top of the leg was affected. The girl began to shout that there was no need to do this. Ancestor started to say that he has his own business, but he can't leave it like this, he can't leave her in this state. Yen Takshu came here from the Green Lake, there must be various spirit beings walking around somewhere nearby. Du began to say that he does not know when he looks at the legs of girls. He put his 2 fingers to the wound and the wound began to heal. She was shocked, but mentally says that he does not understand anything at all. The ancestor tells her to be patient, it will be unpleasant, he will stop the bleeding, but he will not be able to completely heal the wound. The girl asked the ancestor who he was, and he replied that he was just a nobody whose name did not deserve to be mentioned. She says that this beast, Yen Takshu, stopped before him with such reverence. The ancestor says that since childhood he has been fighting with him and his family, now because of this he is afraid of the ancestor. The girl did not understand in what sense since childhood. The forefather tells the girl that he stopped the bleeding, but now she needs to hurry to the city and find a doctor as soon as possible. But she did not understand how to get to the city quickly. She thought to herself that she had not yet completed the task her master had given her. Paradox said that he couldn't just leave her there, and she didn't understand what he was planning to do next. Suddenly a spiritual being came out of the bushes and the ancestor asked him why he hadn't left yet. A spiritual being crouched before them. The ancestor asked the spiritual being if he would take this girl to the city gate, and he agreed that he would. The ancestor told the girl that he would not dare to offend her. The girl says that if he does not want to, then he cannot listen to what she says. The girl told the forefather that she did not know his name. He said his name was Li Yun. The girl introduced herself as Lui Bai, she was from the Lingxiao clan, and she asked her ancestor if they would ever meet again. The ancestor replied that they would meet again someday. The ancestor approached the cave and shouted to his mentor that his disciple had returned. I was not the mentor who shouted for him to come inside. The ancestor did not understand what happened near this cave, there was a lot of dirt. He came inside the cave and asked his mentor why the entrance to the cave was so dirty. The mentor asked the disciple to come to him because he wanted to see if the boy had strengthened him during this time. The ancestor replied that the mentor was especially kind today. He asked if it was possible some cunning plan he would approach, and the mentor would attack him, or not so. The teacher asked the student who he thought he was, he hadn't seen him for such a long time, he wanted to make sure that he was eating well, and it turns out that his student was so rude. The ancestor answered that it wouldn't be an attack after all. The teacher told the forefather to do whatever he wanted, if he wanted to stand there, then let him stand. The ancestor quickly approached the mentor and asked why he was angry with him. Over the years one should become more and more calm. The mentor replied that they had not seen each other for half a month, and his tongue became even sharper. Why is he only being taught there? The ancestor answered that nothing like that, they don't teach anything special, only everything worthy. The mentor slapped the ancestor on the shoulder and said that he was a stupid student, returned to the cave and did not even bring candy to the mentor. The ancestor replies that he promised not to beat him. The mentor says that whoever hits him is only showing love. The ancestor asked the mentor when it was he who returned to him without a gift. He says that he brought him Wang Zi's cookies, for which he stood in line all day. The tributary gives the mentor a cookie and says, "Keep it, silly old man." The teacher was happy and said that he was a good student and then asked what he saw in those 2 Sundays. The ancestor replied that there were many clans, but he did not remember their exact name. Every day was very sad, but he followed the guidance of his assistants. The mentor says that even if he does not remember the names of the clans, there is nothing wrong with that. The ancestor asked the mentor if it was true that he was very cool, and the mentor did not understand why he had such a question. The ancestor began to tell that many people ask about him, but he is not a stupid boy, so he simply replies that he is fine, he just needs to recover a little. The mentor was happy that he is quite popular. The ancestor began to say that he thought that all his efforts to restore the Yongsan clan had failed since he gave the successors the elixir and they destroyed the toilet after that. The mentor asked the ancestor if he didn't think that the elixir was for them very strong. He replies that everything is written clearly in the books that the mentor gave him. He thinks that if other people could see their composition, they would also be able to cultivate, and the mentor says that alchemists in this world are divided into 9 ranks, using the same ingredient. And asked the disciple how he thought such different results could be achieved. The ancestor replied that he did not know. The teacher got angry with the ancestor, but he always asked him to read more, and what he hears now, I don't know the answer to such a simple question. He tries to make him angry. The ancestor replies that he doesn't like to read books at all, but to remember a couple of recipes. This is his maximum. Alchemists are engaged in the creation of elixirs, which are also divided into 9 ranks, starting from fortifying agents and ending with miraculous elixirs, but no one has seen alchemists of the 8th and 9th ranks for a long time. Only legends tell about them. Currently the most outstanding alchemist is Feng Qingbai from the Xuanzi clan. He is a 7th rank alchemist, but his abilities allow him to reach the 8th rank very soon. The ancestor asked what he gave them to taste after all, and the mentor asked what other features there were after using it. The student answered that one of them said that if it were not for the elixir, he would not have been able to get rid of the evil spirit who sat in it. It means an unprecedented breakthrough. The teacher was shocked by what he heard. The mentor asked if he was lying to him. Such an elixir must be an elixir of at least the 5th rank. It costs approximately 5,000 gold coins. The student was in shock. In what sense 5,000 gold coins? The student says that this can be a great way to earn extra money. The teacher replied that all this is the will of heaven. The disciple asked what it meant. The mentor asked the boy how long he had been raising him. The boy asked why such a strange question. 19 years already, in 3 months it will be 20 years. The mentor says, 19 years of life, but for the heavenly beings, 19 years is just a blink of an eye. The student says that the heavenly beings are all fictions. With such mental vigor, for the mentor to live 200 years is not a problem at all. The teacher says that he will teach his student everything that he managed to learn during his entire long life. The student asks everything. And the mentor replied that he was fine with everything, even because he himself did not know it perfectly. The ancestor asked the mentor why he suddenly decided this. The mentor tells Yoon that he will ask him questions first. The ancestor replies that he is ready to listen. The teacher asked if a person could live forever. The ancestor replies that he heard from the people in the city that the most famous of the long-lived was about 200 years old. He says that immortality was just a fiction, and the mentor says, what if the mentor tells him that immortality can be achieved through cultivation? The ancestor laughed and asked the mentor if he was afraid of death. The teacher took something out of his pocket and said that death would be something to fear. The teacher says that the student just asked him a question, why he decided to transfer all his knowledge to him, but he cannot answer this question. He says, the teacher is simply following the will of heaven, so he thinks that now is the time for this. The student asked, is the mentor not sick? He does not understand anything at all. The teacher says that he does not understand yet, but in the future he may understand everything. The teacher asked the student if he wanted to get this knowledge. The student knelt in front of the mentor and said that of course he wished. Everyone dreams of it. The mentor tells the student to kill him and take his elixir, so he will get all his accumulated knowledge. The student was shocked by what he heard. He laughed and said that killing him to get the elixir and take it for himself is just the mentor playing him. The mentor says he is like playing him. The student had never heard such stupid jokes. The mentor says that after using his elixir, he will become number one in this world. The disciple says that he is like the one who wants to be number one in the world. He is not interested and never was interested in this nonsense. If he did not force him to cultivate from childhood, he would be a simple person, and from above he came down and pretended master, only on the orders of the mentor. He always wanted only to be with him. Although Tanyan Cave is not the same as it was before, it is his home. People say that everything is good for a dog, his home is where his owner is. The teacher says that in reality it all does not sound very good. When he was a kid nobody needed him and he raised him, and now he's telling him to kill his mentor and become some kind of number one in the world. He's really starting to think that the older generation is the most proven insanity. The mentor laughed loudly and said that he just decided to make a joke on him. Just look at his outraged look. If things really worked like this, the world would just fall into chaos, and if he had read the books, he would have realized it immediately. The student was very angry with the teacher. How could he like to bully his student? The teacher says that he raised a 19-year-old boy, a real child. He says that the student should not stand so far that he would approach him. Now they will do anything. The disciple asked if the master was afraid of being so close to him that if he really decided to kill him, the master replied that in that case he would beat him to death himself. The teacher asked Yoon if he was ready, and the student said he had a question. The teacher asked what question he had. The disciple says that the master said that he will pass on all his knowledge to him. He has accumulated it for more than 100 years. Will his body be able to withstand it? The master replied that if he is lucky, everything will go smoothly. If not, then he will just die and that's it. The student jumped back and said that he did not sign up for such Russian roulette. No knowledge is worth life, and the mentor told him that it was too late to do anything. He had already done everything. The student did not understand what to do late. The teacher laughed and said that he had already touched his head several times and he still did not feel anything. The disciple was angry with him for what he had done. The teacher said that this is a small lesson for him to be careful now, and the student says that he doesn't seem to feel anything yet, so he will live. Suddenly, something very strange and incomprehensible began to happen. The student grabbed his heart and started coughing up blood. Then a sharp headache began. In the end, he completely fell to the ground. The teacher says that 108 lightning strikes are his gift to the student. He must cope with them. Suddenly the student found himself in some other world. He did not understand where he was. He went somewhere and constantly called his mentor. Suddenly, someone whispered Sueshan. The student did not understand whether it was his subconscious. He says that this damned old man is really just mocking him. He says that when he comes back and he will pull out all his hair and beard with the plague. The blue flame constantly whispered to Sueshan. The disciple did not understand whether it was a blue flame, whether it was his soul, what it was saying, Sueshan, what it was, some kind of landmark. He didn't understand what was happening. The blue flame kept saying the same word Sueshan. Suddenly he stepped on something. He began to fall to an unknown place. It's all on a subconscious level. He didn't really fall, that's how he constantly reassured himself, but suddenly someone grabbed his hand and said Sueshan. Someone asked the ancestor if he was really going to betray them. Another unknown man approached. It seems that he has already decided everything. He told Fong that she was waiting and that she should kill him. He began to fall somewhere again. Two people stood and watched it. His eyes were very scared from not understanding what was happening at all. He fell to the ground and realized it was just a dream, but they scared him to death. He sat on the ground not understanding anything at all. He ended up in some field. The student was very frightened and shouted loudly and asked where he was, what was happening. Suddenly, lightning struck near him. He did not understand who was setting off firecrackers here. Another bolt of lightning struck from the other side. Suddenly the whole sky was filled with lightning. The student began to run away and did not understand what would happen next and where he was. The student shouted loudly and called for help. Another bolt of lightning struck directly in front of him. He asked if he would do it all the time, or if he was the only one who could throw lightning bolts. He was not the only one who could throw lightning bolts. He took one lightning in his hands. He says that now they will see which of them is stronger. He directed his lightning into the sky. The lightning flew very high. It was very nice to watch. The student says that this real power is not bad. He asks, so what? He still wants to show off. Suddenly, many lightnings rained down from the sky again. The student was shocked. Tanyan Cave, morning. The mentor woke up and stretched. He says that it is already morning, so everything should be over by now. He saw a student next to him who was lying on the ground and black smoke was coming from him. He did not understand what it was. He approached the student and asked if he was alive and well. The mentor thought, how could this happen? In the process of passing on knowledge from the mentor to the student, in the last resort, the other would only get a small scratch, but to turn into coal, this had never happened before. The student woke up and told the teacher that he wanted to eat. The mentor let out a sigh of relief and said he thought the lightning had beaten him to death. At first, the student did not understand what kind of lightning the mentor was talking about, but then he remembered. He asked the foolish old man what he was doing with him, and the old man asked him to put him on the ground and listen to what he had to tell him. The disciple did not agree to such terms and said that he would not let him go, that he would speak like that. The mentor says that he did not tell him that he would pass on all his knowledge. Now his awakening means that he has successfully mastered the mastery of thunder and lightning. The student says that he has not mastered anything. He asked the mentor what he did with him. The mentor answers that while he was in the stream, he was constantly affected by lightning and thunder. Because of this his body is now familiar with all techniques. The so-called flow is a kind of clan for opening the body in consciousness. Everything that a person felt in the flow is remembered in his mind and also affects his body. The disciple says to the mentor, did he just send his disciple there, knowing what was waiting for him there and didn't even say a word? That is truly the height of nobility. And if he died, the mentor replies that he went through all this in his time as well. He couldn't die, at most he could become disabled. If he wants to blame someone, then he can blame himself. That's why he can't cultivate normally. The teacher asked the student if he was feeling normal. He replied, if you don't take into account the burning pain all over the body, then everything is just fine. He tells the old man that these techniques of his, several dozen lightning strikes, are very cruel. How is it in general is called? The teacher says that there are a lot of techniques. He suggested that the student describe them together. The student began to explain how it happened, how it all blew up, flew up, flew up. The teacher mentally got angry and said that it was still very easy. The student continued that after everything the teacher says that he taught him everything he knows, so why doesn't he feel anything? He didn't get any knowledge. The mentor explained to him that all the techniques are stored in his subconscious. When the time comes, his body will know exactly what to do. He will prepare medicinal herbs for him, he will change clothes and then they will figure out what techniques were used. The disciple said in his mind that this old man wanted to deceive him. It sounded somehow very strange and suspicious, but he still trusted him this time. Suddenly he saw something at the exit of the cave. He did not understand when the magical barrier appeared there. Did he just appear? The teacher asked him what he was doing there with his bare buttocks for so long. The scientists will ask the mentor if there was ever a magic field at the entrance to the cave. He had never seen it before or even felt it. He tells the mentor that he will go down to check. Maybe it is some kind of joke. He wants to disturb them. The teacher told him that there was no need to go check anything. He added that this field is there to isolate him. The student did not understand why the mentor should be isolated from the rest of the world. The mentor said that they would return to discussing this issue. Then when he took a medicinal bath, if the animals and birds saw him naked, they would laugh. He no longer wanted to become a laughing stock. The student said that they have been looking at his naked body for a long time. Some time passed. He approached the student and asked how he was feeling. He replied that he really doesn't have any pain. He doubted his healing abilities in vain. The mentor says that he taught him the recipes of these healing herbs, but he probably didn't remember anything. That's why it surprises him so much. The student says that he has memorized everything, as well as the mastery of the thunder that was transferred to him. It is simply stored in his subconscious and he is not yet ready to use this knowledge. The mentor splashed water on him and asked how he could mock his mentor. The student stood up abruptly. The mentor was very surprised how he could stand completely head in front of him. He did it so abruptly that the mentor did not even expect it. The student says that he feels simply wonderful. The teacher told the student to shut up because he had not yet reached it. In his best years, the student laughed and asked what he was muttering under his breath, and the teacher said that he had already reached it. The disciple got out of the bathroom, got dressed and asked the mentor why he had not yet answered his question, why this magical field isolated the mentor from the rest of the world. The mentor replied that it is a very long story and now is not the best time to tell it. The disciple told the mentor that he most likely had some big secret and he looked like he might actually screw up if he told him that secret. The mentor replied that it could be dangerous and he asked the disciple to leave his hair alone. The disciple asked the mentor that there really is such a magical field that can trap the mentor. Because of this he wants to try to destroy it. The mentor says that sooner or later it will be necessary to destroy it, but the time has not yet come. He added that the disciple it's time to get off the mountain. He worries that if he stays here for too long, it will lead to unnecessary misunderstandings. The disciple asked the mentor about another disciple who brings him clothes and food, if he takes good care of him. The mentor replied that despite the fact that he is a fool, but everything is fine, he assured the disciple not to worry about him. He added that this magic field only prevents him from climbing the sacred mountain and leaving the Tangyen cave, but even if no one cares about him, he will still be able to hunt and not starve. The disciple tells the mentor not to even think of changing his disciple. He asked how much longer he will have to be the head of the sect. Helping his mentor is much more interesting. The teacher pushed him. The teacher told him that his tongue had completely loosened and told the student it was time to go back. The student agreed with him and left. He said that he would not prevent him from looking at the world with his old Persian eyes. The mentor calmly exhaled. He was holding a stone in his hand. Then he hid it in his pocket. The student came to the palace, and his assistant was already waiting for him there. The assistant asked the ancestor where he had been missing for those 2 days, and he replied that he had found a quiet place where he could practice in peace. The ancestor told the assistant that the last few days there was such a peculiar atmosphere in the sect. Wondering why, the assistant asked him if it was all thanks to the head of the sect. The chairman said that he would improve the composition of the recipe next time. Then he asked why he was walking around the palace gate. He looked very nervous. The aide told the clan head that something had happened during the 2 days he had been away from the palace grounds. The ancestor asked if anyone had come to the sect, and the assistant told him that it would be better if it was an enemy attack. There would be much less trouble. He brought him to the clearing and asked if he could see this child. The clan head asked what it was, if it was a new student. The aide said that this boy told him that he was looking for his father. The aide asked the clan head who he thought his father was. He replied that there weren't many people in their Yunshan sect who could match this child's age for the role of a father. It is difficult for him to say who he looks like, but he has a noble aura and good features. The aide asked the sect leader if he was still pretending to be a fool. The ancestor laughed. The assistant said that this child is looking for his father, namely the head of the sect, meaning he is his father. The assistant told him that he was looking for him. The ancestor was very surprised. He did not understand in what sense he was looking for him. The ancestor told the helper not to talk nonsense anymore. He told the helper to look at this giant and at him. How could he be his son? he is also a small one. If people find out about this, they will think that he is a pervert. The assistant told the ancestor to deal with this child himself. He never reached him. He continued to insist that the head was his father, moreover, so convincingly that the assistant himself began to believe it. Suddenly the child saw the head of the clan. He began to shout, "Papa," that he is his papa. The child tells the head that he is finally back. He asked him how he is. The ancestor thought that they wanted to breed him for money, but where he has money, he is poor. The child ran up to the ancestor, hugged him and began to say that his father had finally returned. He asked if he recognized him. He was his long-lost son. The assistant asked the head if he was absolutely sure that this child was not a mistake of youth. Ancestor says that how could he even have children at that age? Assistant says, how would he know? But in any case, it is so sensitive that father and son found each other. He reminded the head that tomorrow is the opening ceremony, so that he should prepare well for it. And he will give some advice to the students who will take part in the competition. He asked Kwon not to go and help him deal with it, but the assistant said he was busy and the child kept hugging his head and saying "Daddy." The head of the clan did not understand what was happening. The bull also stood and did not understand what was happening. The boy wished the head of the clan good morning. The head asked the boy, maybe he made a mistake and found the wrong person. He is only 19, how could he be his father? The boy replied that the head is a bit stupid and does not recognize him. The head stood amazed. Then the silhouette of a cat appeared. Ancestor says that he can't be Brother Tai Chen. How is that possible? Suddenly the boy began to transform. He said that he had achieved human form through cultivation. The head says that he would never have thought that his human form is a child. The brother asked what is so. The ancestor laughed and said that it was nothing, but thought to himself that it was lucky that he didn't try to find a cat for Brother Chen, otherwise they would have thought he was a pervert. He asked the cat why he told Kwon that he was his father, and Brother Chen replied that he just had no idea how ridiculous he looked when he said that the clan head was his father. The ancestor asked him not to joke like that anymore. Here all people have a conservative view, but he does not clear his reputation afterwards. The ancestor asked him when he reached his cultivation, and the cat replied that the night he left. Ancestor suggested finding De Chong and seeing if he would change as well. I wonder what he will look like if he gets a human face. The ancestor says that who would have thought that he was a little kitten when he took him in, and now he has acquired human form and consciousness, and all this happened in about 5 years. The cat replied that he was able to get human so quickly form thanks to the murderous energy that emanated from him and the old man. The ancestor was surprised. It was unlikely that their energy could seep through. Keith says that when he was in the mountains, he thought that every person had a strong murderous energy, and only after coming down from the mountain did he realize that the energy of those people was much weaker than the energy of his ancestor. That's for sure. There the old man mentioned something about a murderous state of mind. He thought that the old man and his ancestor had this condition. The ancestor was surprised when he heard about the murderous state of mind. The cat asked the ancestor why he was looking around. Ancestor asked if he knew what a murderous state of mind was. They say that only 1 in 1,000 cultivators can get it. How could he have this state? Just carry nonsense or he will be caught and experiments will be conducted on by him. Kotick says that these people will not do anything, so he is not worried. Ancestor says that this is not a fact yet. It may be that he is wrong and he just has a slightly higher cultivation level than others. In any case, it is better not to mention it, otherwise it may affect his future cultivation. If you have watched up to this point, then I am very grateful to you, because this is where the video ends. If it's not difficult for you, then like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to continue this story, then write in the comments. Thank you all, I love you all.